But nevertheless, that's how we survived. And you know, I know you've heard all the stories about, you know, what the struggle was like. But let me tell you, I come from a dock family. My dad was a docker, my granddad was a docker, my 3 uncles were dockers. I lived outside the docks in the South End. So, you know, I've got a deep affinity with dockers, past and present. And that's what McCann Stoney's brought that right off for us. So the other thing I was going to say is that this morning, while I've been here putting these up, I got a text there from the Maritime Union of Australia. Now these are places where he's been. And in our struggle in 95 to 98, where we were on strike for 28 months, where, you know, fighting. And I've got to say it, our own union didn't even recognise us. And yet we struggled on. And that was the reason why our dispute started in the September. In the November, I was in Sydney speaking to the Maritime Union of Australia, because we didn't have a choice, we had to go, otherwise we would have perished on the vine, and then you would have had scabs all over the port. Thankfully today, there is no scabs in the port, simply because it's organised. And that's, you know, due to people like Terry T, you know, John Lynch, and Tony Nelson, and people like that, you know, who've actually stood the test of time in there. And so I've had them, you know, so I'm bringing fraternal greetings from the president, well, they don't call him president, the chair of the Maritime Union of Australia, Christy Kane. He sends his best wishes. Also from the Sydney branch, Paul McAleer and Paul Keatings, you know, the same. And also from Mick Williams, who's the president of the, in New Zealand, of the Maritime Union of Australia. So, you know, wherever we go in the world, you know, Liverpool is renowned for many, many things. And that's why the struggle continues. These banners here that you see here, isn't it ironic? You know, we're talking it, and God love him, you know, 100 years about a fella. We don't have a single thing on Merseyside to recognise the dockers in any shape or form, unless you go to Casa. The Casa Club, that's where these are all stored, and that's where they'll stay until we get some recognition. And hopefully we're working on it. But nevertheless, you know, the Carters, the Seamen have all got the recognition. And good luck to it. We're not saying anything different. And as I say, it's nothing special. A lot of people struggled and were killed on the docks, fighting for survival, to put food on the table for their families. And it's no different today. No different whatsoever. You know, 0 hours contracts, they were brought out on the docks. Yeah. You know, my dad travelled from the South End to North. He'd be out from 6:30 in the morning, get home at 3:30 in the afternoon, hadn't earned a penny all day. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to go in a pen. That's why they call them pens. They were called pens because you were treated like animals. And I'd hate to think that animals were treated in that way, but we were. But nevertheless, the only thing that we did that could pull us through was the union itself. And there were 2 unions. There was the white union, which is the Transport and General Workers Union, and there was the blue union. And I'll tell you from my experience, the blue union were more prepared to have a go. Prepared to have a go. And that was the good thing about it. But it didn't matter what union you were in, as long as you were in the union. And that was more important to us. The employees didn't like it, as happened in 1995. He tries to split us again. The reason we went on strike was not for more money, less hours. It was to bring lads and girls down onto the docks on decent wages and conditions, on decent sick pay, holiday pay, pension entitlement, safety at work. And what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. And that's how what happened to us in the end. Okay, I'd like to think now that they're reaping the benefits of that, and hope they do. So on behalf of dockers past and present, and there's some here today, I want to thank you all, but most of all, I cannot thank Luke enough. Absolutely, because we wouldn't be here today. You know, I don't mean underground, we'd still be on top. But nevertheless, the fact remains is that for this persistent, again, he's an agitator. And if you don't organise, you organise your own, some organise your own lifestyles, they may be hectic, but you've got to have that modicum of organisation in your life. Because if not, You don't know if you're in New York or New York. That's what happens. Nothing pleases an employer more when you're all confusing and you're arguing amongst yourselves. Why? It's about knowing what's available. It's knowing about your rights. If you don't know your rights, you don't have any. You do not have any rights if you don't know them. So I'd like to say a big thank you for everyone for coming today. Guys and girls who've organised it all, good luck. Let's keep up the fight.
Some closing remarks. You know, the reason why there's no gates on the docks in Birkenhead because they were robbed. Go down to Marriott's and see them in there. I was going to say, look, I'll thank all the speakers this morning. It's been a great morning, really enjoyed it, and there's some delightful tales that have been told, and long may it last. Also, I'd say to yourselves, thanks for coming here today. Have a safe journey home, and I'll close the meeting. Thanks very much.